as a firefighter, you then progress to crew manager, to watch manager, to station manager. That pathway is very clearly there, and internally that process is very clearly laid out that, if you want to get that promotion, then you need to demonstrate these things.
Hello and welcome back to Future You, the podcast brought to you by graduate careers experts Prospects. I'm your host, Emily Slade, and in this episode I chat to Matt, a whole-time firefighter, and Tom, an on-call firefighter.
So my name is Matt and I am a firefighter on Blue Watch Southend.
Amazing. What does Blue Watch mean?
So within our service we have 4 watch colours that are then how I would do for a shift pattern. So it's blue, red, white and green, and then we just alternate in a pattern of shift. So I'm on Blue Watch.
Okay.
So we're on 2 days, 2 night, and then 4 off shift pattern. So when I'm on my day shifts, then White Watch come on the nights, and then when I'm on my night shifts, Red Watch are on their days, and so it kind of rolls like in a pattern like that.
Okay, and it's fairly consistent.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So it's 2 days, 2 nights, 4 on, 2 days, 2 nights, 4 off. So it just follows like that.
Yeah. Brilliant. What does your educational journey look like?
So I went to a local grammar school and went there for 6th form as well. I was going to I got into art college, art university, but I ended up not going to university because I wanted to go out and earn some money, I think, and decided to work instead. So just went straight to work after 6th form, worked for local charities, small charities, worked for local council. And then 10 years ago, I started working for the fire service, non-operationally.
Okay.
So I worked at our headquarters, doing community safety stuff, working with charities, and a similar kind of similar to what I was doing before, but for the fire service. And then a couple of years ago, wanted to see a different side of the service, but also wanted the career opportunities that the operational side gave. So became operational just over 2 years ago.
Okay, so when you say working for the fire service, so the qualifications, was that more of an admin role?
So it started off kind of a coordination role within the community safety. So I'd be organising different events within the community through the fire service. And then through my experience, I kind of became management within that prevention department. So yeah, I at the end, when I left my non-operational job, I was managing a few teams of people doing different community safety activities. So I got those promotions just through the experience, really.
Yeah, amazing. And then anyone can make the choice to go from non-operational to operational?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't given any kind of compensation for being already working for the service. I had to do the same process that anyone would do anyway. So yeah, I still had to go through the same process that a member of the public would have to do. Just because I worked there didn't mean anything particularly. So yeah, I had to apply. I had to do when I applied, there was a psychometric test that we had to do. So an online test to kind of assess your behaviours. It's done through gameplay, so your kind of risk-taking behaviour in the games and how you behaved under stress during the games. I think that's what it was looking for. So passed that, and then had a physical assessment and an interview, and then so that was quite a long process.
Oh yeah, when you say games, what do you mean?
So it was actual games. So there was one that I remember that was something like if you blew up a certain shape of balloon on this, you kept pressing with the mouse, and a certain shape would give you cash in money, but if you blew it up too much, it would pop. So it was about your risk taking. So you knew that this particular balloon gave you more money, but it would pop quicker. So you wouldn't be as risk taking in how much you blew it up. I guess that's what it was looking for. But then like a normal shaped balloon, you could inflate loads, but it would only give you a small amount of money. So it didn't matter if it popped so much.
Amazing. Why did you take that choice to move? You mentioned career opportunities, but why the fire service to begin with?
Well, because I already worked here, I liked the organisation. I liked what they stood for. I liked everyone that I previously worked with, and luckily, when I was non-operational, I did get to work with a lot of operational people, and all of the activities that we used to deliver were on fire stations. So I was always working with watches, always working with different fire stations. So I felt like I had a good understanding of what I would kind of be letting myself in for. And then also I just wanted to be a bit more hands-on. When you see the trucks going out, it's exciting, and you think, oh, that would, I think I could do that. I think if personally, I wanted to show that I could do it for myself as well, that I was able to be a firefighter. But definitely the career opportunities is something that is attractive because it's so clearly laid out, the rank structure of our organisation. as a firefighter, you then progress to crew manager, to watch manager, to station manager. You know, that pathway is very clearly there. And internally, that process is very clearly laid out that, you know, if you want to get that promotion, then you need to demonstrate these things. And that's there at every level. So it just felt like, you know, I've got a 30-year career in front of me and I've got a very clear structure that I can follow if I want to. So that was quite attractive.
Yeah, that's fair. What does a typical day look like as an operational firefighter?
So, you know, every day is obviously different because we don't know what's going to happen particularly, but there are some structured things that we have to do, you know, like on our first day, we do inventories of the whole trucks, and depending on what day of the week it is, there's different equipment that we have to test just to make sure it's still safe and working, and that, you know, we're comfortable with using these things. And then obviously in between all of the shouts, which we don't know what they're going to be, we'll do some training in the drill yard. So every station has a tower, you know, that we can practice ladders on, and there's hydrants in the yard that we can use so we can do water drills in the yard as well. But we might use any piece of equipment off the truck and just do an exercise with it, just so that we're all happy and comfortable with using it. We also have loads of old cars out the back that we can cut up and practice cutting up cars and things. So yeah, it's really good just to get your hands on the tools, especially if it hasn't been a while that you haven't used a certain piece of equipment, that you're just getting yourself back familiarization with it. So in between that as well, we also will just go out in the community and do prevention and protection work. So prevention is our kind of home safety activities where we would go and fit alarms. Often we get some from headquarters where they're like, these are in your area, can you book these, and go and do the visits. But it might be, for example, we had a fire last week and we would then knock just on the neighbours' houses around that incident. So we call it a targeted intervention. So because there's been an incident on this street, we're going to go and knock 10 houses either side, opposite, you know, and just check in. And actually last week when we did that, every house I knocked on didn't have smoke alarms. So we carry them on the truck, so I could then be like, well, I've got them now. So, you know, these are yours to take and fit. So it's really, you know, important stuff that happens, because it's surprising still how many people don't have working alarms. So yeah, we'll do home safety visits, and then we also do business inspections of commercial premises just to make sure that they've got the right, you know, fire extinguishing media, that they've got smoke alarms as well. All their exits are clear for staff members, for public that are using the buildings. So yeah, we're going to do those visits as well. So they're always busy days, and even if we might not have lots of shouts, we're doing lots of other stuff as well.
So you call it a shout. I assume that's when the bell goes.
That's
and
right.
You have to rush in
Yeah,
the trucks.
yeah.
So is that a direct line? Somebody's rung 999,
Yeah.
and it comes straight to
So
the
yeah,
station?
so it will go straight to our control room, which is based at our headquarters, and then our control room at headquarters will then mobilise us on station. So if they will obviously know where we are and what the address is, and they'll mobilise the nearest truck to go to it.
Yeah. What happens then? So the bell goes, and talk me through it. What happens?
So there's a really loud bell that goes down, and all the lights come on as well, just in case there were lights off, obviously. So all the lights come on, the bells go down, and the idea is that within at least 2 minutes, you're dressed on the truck and leaving the bay doors. So we also have then what we call an MDT on the truck, which is a mobile data terminal, and on that is a map and has all the messages from control coming up on it, and that will then plot where the incident is. It's not like a GPS. It doesn't give you a route. It just shows you where it is. So obviously our knowledge as firefighters, and especially the drivers of the trucks, they need to kind of understand what's the best way to get to these places. So lots of us are local to Southend, so we know the area. We've grown up here, we lived here, but some people aren't familiar, so they have to learn the station grounds, the station risks, and, you know, what the particular names of places that we need to get to. They'll have to learn all of that so that we can get there quickly. And then obviously we'll get there as quick as we can. As I said, the messages from control come up on the MDT, so we can see that if it is a fire domestic, what we're going to. Is it a flat? Is it in a high rise? Is it in just a normal domestic property? And then also if they're getting multiple calls from public, so multiple people are seeing it, we're getting that information. So we know on the back of the truck that this is very likely going to be something when we arrive. Because if they're saying we've had 5 calls now of people seeing smoke coming out of a window, then something's happening. Sometimes if we're just getting 1 call, it might just be a false alarm, and that's fine. But when we know we're getting multiple messages, then something's happening.
Yeah. So can not everyone drive the trucks?
No, yeah, so you have to do an LGV license and a blue light license to be able to drive the trucks, yeah. So not every firefighter does it, but most, when they get the opportunity, will go for their driving. I haven't done mine yet. Before you ask.
Pressure.
Yeah. I've only been in a couple of years, and when you start as a firefighter, you start as an apprentice, and that process takes about 18 months to finish your apprenticeship. So I've only in the last, it's coming up to about a year-ish that I've finished it. So I've just been comfortable finishing my apprenticeship and just, having less to do, which is learning to do, which is quite nice. And then the next stage is patch driving.
What are some of the best qualities and skills that someone who would want to become a firefighter must possess?
So I think one of the best qualities is having a sense of calmness when attending incidents. We have to have that speed when we're getting ready for things, like when the bells go down. We need to be quick. We need to get on the truck quickly, and we need to be alert and understand what's happening and think about what we need to think about when we get to the incident. If I know I'm going to a domestic fire, this is what I need to do. Or if I'm going to an animal rescue, this is what I need to get ready in my mind. So you are thinking quickly, and it's having that sense of calmness when you get there, especially with things like house fires. When you're putting on our breathing apparatus sets, there is a methodical way of doing that safely and correctly, that you need to be focused on that. And whether there's a house on fire right next to you, that's got red flames coming out of it, you need to be focused on what you're doing to get ready to go into there. So you do have to have that sense of calm and listen to what's going on around you, because people will be shouting at you, officers will be telling you what you need to go and do in there. You're going in a pair, so you need to make sure your person you're going in with is okay, and they're listening and they're safe and they're happy. So it's having that, being able to manage your kind of anxiety, because it is an anxious situation to be in, and that you can just calm yourself and listen and think, I know what I'm doing, I've got the training, I've done it before. Yeah, so that's really important.
Are there any memorable or impactful emergencies that you've responded to?
I think there'll always be ones that stick with you, and there's certainly the more traumatic things, you're never going to really be truly prepared for until they happen. And certainly in training school, they are very conscious of not using scare tactics in that kind of and trauma triggering of what you're going to see, because it's just unnecessary. And nowadays, when you become operational, you're put on the stage, and after your training, if something is happening that is more traumatic, and you're needed to see it, then you'll see it. But if you don't need to go and look at something, then you won't. But, I think obviously those things do stick in your mind more, just because they are the most unusual. It's not day to day that you see something more difficult. And they will be ones that I remember. But I think actually the other things that I certainly remember more is the ones where you feel like you've made a real difference, and you've actually made a tangible outcome better for somebody. And that might not necessarily be putting out a big, huge fire, because that looks the most dramatic and exciting. It might just be that, we were called to assist an ambulance, and we've gained entry for them, and then helped an elderly person who's stuck, get into that ambulance, and, you've genuinely helped that person get care. And that's also really important, and feels like, we did a really good job there. It's not going to make the papers.
Yeah.
But, it felt like we've made some really tangible additions to that person. So I think they probably stick with me just as much as the more difficult ones, because you think, I suppose it's the polarization of it both, isn't it? The really sad stuff and also the really nice stuff, when you think this is really nice and that was really difficult. So they all stick with you, really.
Yeah, definitely. Is the danger always present in your mind? Do you always worry that, could you die every time that bell rings?
I think, yeah, there is definitely a fear. I think obviously the most dangerous things we'll go into are going to be fires.
Yeah.
That is going to be, and especially big industrial fires. Big warehouse fires. Where there is so much more risk in, we don't know what's in there. There's the risk of obviously getting disorientated, and within these places, obviously our training is very structured in that we are very risk averse, obviously. So we've got so many things in place to prevent actually us getting injured and or losing a life. Obviously, in the past, firefighters have lost their lives in fires and in incidents, but all of those incidents have now led to the training we now have, because we've learned from all of those things. So yes, there is always risk, but I've never personally felt like I'm on the knife edge of being in danger, because I feel like we are drilled into us how to be safe. And if actually I felt unsafe, I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't go into that building, and I would say to my officer, I'm not going in there. Sorry, like that doesn't look safe.
Yeah.
And I have my right to do that. You know, obviously there's a balance of doing as you're told and being instructed. But if things feel unsafe, then you have your right to be like, let's get ourselves out of here. This doesn't feel right, you know.
Yeah.
So that's important.
Definitely. It's such an interesting place to be in my head, that you're going into a place that hasn't been risk assessed.
Yeah.
Beyond, the bare
See what you can see on the outside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so then afterwards, is there a lot of paperwork that comes to, I don't know, is there paperwork?
Yeah. I mean, if there's larger incidents, then there'll be formal debriefs about what we all did. You know, if there was, say, 10 fire engines, we call it like a 10 pump job. So there were 10 pumps on a job, you know, there's likely to be a formal debrief because there's loads of people involved. There's likely to be in loads of other agencies like ambulance, police, you know, whoever, that those formal debriefs are important just to check on learning, you know, did we do that okay? Or was there anything we could have done better? You know, things like that. But often with day-to-day incidents that aren't so large and, you know, noteworthy, I suppose, there'll be what we call hot debriefs where you'll just do it on the dual, on the incident ground. You know, you'll come out the incident, you'll just chat with the people on maybe 1 or 2 trucks and just say, everyone all right? Did that go okay? Anything you want to say? So those kind of things are done more informally just to make sure that everyone's all right. But I mean, even if it sounds like, you know, if it's just one truck that you're not doing anything that important, but you are potentially, you know, just because it's not a big 10 pump job doesn't mean you're not potentially seeing difficult things. So, you know, I certainly, it happens to me often when we go to just one truck or go to something, you'll see something or you'll help another agency and it'll be difficult. And the first thing the officer says when we get back on the truck is, does anyone need trim, which is our trauma risk management. So, you know, and that is an offer that goes to every firefighter to make sure that if they do need to talk to someone about what they've seen, that's there. So, and that happens really often where you just get back on the truck and it's a very, you know, informal debrief about what you've done. But like one of the main things is, does anyone need support? Is everyone all right? And then if everyone's fine, then that's okay. But it's there available very, very obviously, which is good.
Yeah, that's really good. And then, I suppose, how do you balance the mental and the physical sides of the job?
I think we're, as an organization, as a group of people, you know, as a society, we're getting better at just talking about not being okay sometimes, and that's really good. And we're really good at that in the fire service now, I think. But certainly, just the relationship you build with your watch, with the people you work with every day, is what gets you going, you know, and keeps you feeling okay. You know, everyone has that kind of like family attitude of just like winding each other up and, you know, being silly when it's okay to be silly and being serious when you need to be serious, but then also being a listening ear if you need to be for someone that actually you can tell and maybe is having a bit of a bad day or finding things more difficult. And, you know, we also all have our own personal lives that, you know, have stuff that happens in, and, you know, work can also trigger stuff that's happened to us personally and or vice versa. So I think it's just having that openness to talk to one another, which we do just naturally because you're with each other so much. You know, you're sleeping in a dorm room together, you're eating around the mess table together, you're doing training, you know, you're always doing it together. So having that relationship is really important just to so you can just chat about things very naturally.
Yeah.
So my name's Tom Easter and I'm an on-call firefighter here at Halstead for Essex County Fire and Rescue.
So what does on-call mean?
So on-call means that we respond to incidents via an alert system like a pager, rather than sitting on station like a whole time crew would do that. So that's the two difference, really.
So does that mean you can be on call at any time, or do you have shifts?
Yeah, so we've got a minimum requirement we have to reach. Mine is 90 hours a week, which is quite a lot, but obviously I can do that from my bed and do that in the evenings, the weekends. So my rota basically looks like midnight through to about 7 in the morning. I then go and do my day job. I then come back on call, maybe 5, 6 in the evening through to midnight, and it starts again. And I do that probably 7 days a week. And then Sunday, might book a few more hours in if I'm at home doing nothing, cleaning the house, something like that. It's quite full on, but generally I'm not doing a lot because I'm at home. I live literally over the outside of that field there, so you just kind of worked in around my life really easy, to be fair. It does sound like a lot though.
It sounds like a lot, because I suppose if you're not called in,
Yes.
you're fine.
Yeah.
But if you are, you could be working, countless hours in a day.
Yeah, sometimes like we'll get a call at 2 o'clock in the morning and we'll get back for 7. And that's the sort of time I'll be waking up and thinking about going to work, and it's just got to continue that day now and go to work. And then, get sometimes you just got call after call, and then sometimes might not see a fire engine for 3 weeks. So it works that way.
How do you stay on top of practice?
So down here, we obviously drill on a Thursday night. So we come down, we do training, do all the weeklies on the machine to make sure everything's up to scratch. And then, we do drills out in the yards, putting ladders up, doing our pumping, all that kind of thing. And then there's a lot of classroom-based stuff as well, which we go through.
Nice. How do you sleep at night thinking that pager's going to go off?
So when I first joined up, it was a bit like that Homer Simpson thing when he's a firefighter for a bit, and you do kind of think, oh my God, it's going to keep going off. But it very quickly just becomes a part of your life at the back of your head. And then, you go out and do it. I mean, we're quite a busy station here. I think we did about 450 calls last year, which is quite a lot for an on-call station. But obviously a lot of them are daytime. A lot of them you might get just in the summer, they're quiet, sometimes in the winter. So it just becomes part of your normal day and you don't really think about it that often.
Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go back to the beginning. What's your educational journey look like?
So education for me, not great. I am not very academic at all. When I was I think I was 13 years old, sort of year 9 to 10, I had a really serious accident, which means I basically had a year out of school. And when I did go back to school, I was doing half days, just twice a week I was going to hospital and having rehabilitation in the afternoons. So I basically missed a year and a half, 18 months of school. So I was really far behind, didn't really do that well in my GCSEs, but I did enough to get into college. And I was going to go and study music, which is the only thing I really enjoyed in school. I never went to college because I've got myself a job, driving diggers and pushing wheelbarrows and things, and I just really enjoyed the practical side of work. So I did that for about 5 years and then sort of moved more into carpentry-based stuff, which is my primary role now.
So do you have your own business, like a freelance carpenter?
Yeah, so now I've got a business. We're in our 10th year of trading now, and it's going from strength to strength. We've got ahead above parapet through the recession, which is good, and it's still going strong. So onwards and upwards of that.
So how did you move into the fire service?
So I was doing a kitchen for a guy that actually worked here, and he said, "Oh, you actually might be quite good at this job. You're quite confident and you're very practical. What do you think?" And this was the day after Grenfell, so we were just sitting there at lunch chatting, and I said, "Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing that." I did try and apply here when I was 18, funny enough, but it didn't go anywhere, which is probably a good thing. It means I could go out and experience a bit of life, really. If I was held to a pager at 18, I wouldn't have had half the anecdotes I have now. But I think it was good that I didn't get in at 18. But it's good now, and doing all the basic training and things, it's such a rewarding thing to do. So I really love my role here now. It's great.
Yeah, and was that a simple application, go through the interview process, go through the practical assessment?
Yeah, so I come down here one Thursday night, and I spoke to a few of the lads here, and they sort of sign you up and they help you and say, "Oh yeah, you need to email her or him and do this." I think there's a strength test you have to go and do, a bleep test you have to go and do, which was good. I enjoy a bleep test. No one does, but and we have to do that annually as well to stay in. Or I think you can do a terminal test as well, but for the bleep. So did that, and then once you get all that passed, you then go for your basic training, which was 2 weeks out of real work to go and do that.
So can you talk me through a typical day? Let's say that your pager goes off when you're on call. What does that day look like?
Okay, well, let's explain yesterday. So yesterday I went to work as normal in the morning, went and hummed some doors and done some bits and pieces of work. I came in here about 4 o'clock yesterday afternoon, and all the alerts went down, and we got put the standby to Braintree, which basically means we go and sit on their station and wait for a call. So I did that till about 8 o'clock last night, and then we come home. So it was just a very long day at work. Yeah, it was basically 8 to 8 till 8, which is all right. But it's not too bad, really. The alert goes off. You come down here and you find out what the call is and whether you all needed to go or not. I'm a driver down here now, so you always got to have a driver for that machine. We've got 3 here, so I don't go on every single call. If it's something like persons reported, like a house fire or someone trapped, then it's just the first people that turn up that take that machine out. So it's generally, I'll be on that because I live so close.
Mm-hmm. Okay. How do you manage, let's say you've had an intense, traumatizing night on call, and then you don't have time to go to bed, you have to go straight into your day job. How do you support yourself? Do you have access to support?
Yeah, that actually happens quite often, to be fair. Quite often I'll be woken up at 2, 3 in the morning, we'll go out into a job, and plus I'll come back at waking up time. Luckily for me, all my colleagues that work with me in my primary employment, they're like really supportive. So I've had it before where I've been on a landfill site trying to put out a fire, and my mate's ripping out the kitchen for me because he wants to keep the project on track, and I'll just turn up and do the last bits, really. So, but a really good support network at my primary employment, and they just really helped me through it all, basically.
Oh, amazing. How do you deal with the mental health side of things? Does that affect you at all? Or are you quite good at navigating, so much?
Yeah, I think I'm a fairly self-aware person, so I don't tend to struggle too much with my mental health, which is a good thing. But there's a very good support network down here of all the guys. We all sort of get together and chat. We've had some really horrible experiences in the past with like RTCs and things, and I find that actually just getting together and talking about what we've seen and just getting it out there, kind of, that works for everyone down here. And if that's not enough, obviously we've got trim practitioners. These people ring you up and they'll basically talk you through the incident, and anything you're upset about or cut up about, you can talk to them, and they're really good at that sort of thing. I've never used the service myself, but I do know a lot of people that have, and it is really invaluable to the way that we progress forward.
Are there any myths about firefighting that you would like to debunk?
A lot of people think that we just rescue cats out of trees, which we have done, and it does happen often. In fact, I think there's a card up in there from a cat from last week. I'll show you later. But yeah, we don't rescue many cats out of trees, and we don't just do fires. There's a lot of other things we do alongside that, like RTCs, lots of standbys, things like that, really. But yeah, and I think the other thing as well, a lot of people think that we're volunteers, and obviously we don't do that. We just get a retainer plus call outs. So that's the big difference between like us and like an American fire service. Obviously they're all volunteers in certain parts, aren't they? So that's probably the biggest myth to debunk.
What's the most unexpected thing you've had to do as part of your role?
I didn't think I'd be working with children or the community half as much as we do. We do an awful lot of like school visits, fakes, things like that. That's something I never really thought about when I signed up. But it's probably the most rewarding part of the job now. Like working with the children is really good. We do fire cadets down here, and yeah, just giving back to young people and inspiring them is a really giving moment I didn't think we'd have. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah. What's your favourite part of the job?
It is quite a buzz, to be fair. Like to come down and go and do something kind of exciting. For me, I think the driving is probably the most fun I have. Generally driving a big fire engine around on blue lights is a lot of fun. But yeah, the thing I enjoy the most is probably just, we have such a good community down here. We all get on so well, and it is just like a family, really. So that's the best part of the job.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
And you want welcome.
Thanks again to Matt and Tom for their time. If you're interested on learning more about becoming a firefighter, head to prospects.ac.uk. If you enjoyed the episode, feel free to leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. Thank you, as always, for listening, and good luck on your journey to future you.